Early in the morning, Emma is well prepared for high school. At the same time, Dean doesn't seem interested. Emma's younger sister, Stacy, is tired of always being compared to her perfect sister. Emma's best friend, Lizzie, asks her to live a little and be late for class once. When the quarterback, Steven, greets Emma, Lizzie gets excited for her. Their teacher, Christensen, asks them to prepare for a trip the next day. Lizzie thinks a lonely boy like Dean is only tagging along because his dad bought his way. Christensen informs them about a school renovation project they will work on during the trip to Trinidad. While the first 5 days are dedicated for work, they can enjoy the island in the last 3 days. Emma's other friends, Helen and Jude, get excited about Steven knowing her name. Lizzie wants to use this trip to help Emma hook up with him. Emma is not interested and wants to focus on their strict schedule. Emma's dad, Phil, thinks she's packing too much for an 8-day trip. She wants to be prepared, and her mother, Barbara, agrees with her. She hugs Emma and feels like she will have to move to Princeton to be close to her in college. Dean's father, Jack, insists that he needs to go for this trip. Dean doesn't like people, but Jack has pulled too many strings. When they arrive in Trinidad, Miss Collier asks the students to settle in before their project the following day. Lizzie brings the girls to the pool area, and Dean watches as Emma gets a lot of attention. The next morning, Christensen warns Dean against doing something risky. As Emma works, Steven asks her to put some lotion to not ruin her skin. That night, Steven invites all of them, especially Emma, to a carnival party at a local guy's boat. When they arrive, all the girls get scattered in the crowd. Dean and Emma watch Steven kissing some girl, but she doesn't care. Trinidad police soon closes in on them. As they ask everyone aboard the Monte Carlo to step up, Emma tries to look for her friends. She accidentally falls into the sea, and Dean dives in to help her. They swim to the dinghy, but Dean detaches it from the boat because he can't afford to get caught. He plans to catch up to the boat later when the police leaves. Emma starts panicking when the boat gets further away from them. When Dean realizes there's no motor on the dinghy, he feels worried too. As he watches a big wave approaching, he covers them up. The next morning, Christensen scolds the students for being irresponsible with the boat party. He's sending most of them home for getting caught. Lizzie informs Collier that Emma is missing and was last spotted on the boat. Dean and Emma try to figure out where they are, since they have been drifting for hours. Dean's phone is soaked, but Emma's got saved since she covered it in plastic. She still doesn't have cell reception and offers him some water. Dean is amused that she got water to a party, but she doesn't feel ashamed. They're floating in the middle of the Caribbean, but Dean knows that freaking out won't solve their problem. Back at the hotel, Christensen realizes that Dean is also missing. Emma regrets not following the police boat back to the shore. Dean clarifies that he planned to row back later and only jumped in to save her from drowning. Emma spots an island at a distance and asks him to paddle there. The cops assume Emma went drinking with Dean, but Lizzie knows she's never that irresponsible. Collier also asks the cops to find them, but they assume Emma and Dean will turn up soon. Emma and Dean paddle till the island and park their dinghy. While Emma is in a hurry to find a phone on the island, Dean picks up a flare gun just in case. Emma knows people will be worried about them, but Dean doesn't think anyone will miss him. Jack and Barbara rush to the school when they learn about their kids. Phil also joins them and asks about the next flight out. When Emma's feet hurt while hiking, Dean offers his shoes. She tries to eat some berries, but Dean knows that white and yellow ones can be poisonous and stops her. They come across a beautiful waterfall, but Emma wants to keep walking to find the hotel. Dean wants her to enjoy the moment. He knows that writing an essay about a place like this can help her get into Princeton. When she still doesn't budge, Dean realizes why he doesn't hang out with people. They keep walking for hours and still reach nowhere. They realize there's no hotel on the island and walk back to the boat. She's worried about spending the night there, but Dean has a lighter to make a fire. Dean suggests sleeping inside a cave to get protection if it rains. Emma is strictly against the idea, especially when bats fly out of it. Their boat is missing when they get back, but Dean picks up a life jacket. When they rest, Emma shares what she has read about using the flare gun twice. She knows that the first time has to be to get attention, while the second is so the rescuers can locate them. She seems sure their families and the police must be looking for them. Dean asks to borrow her bug spray and offers her the life jacket as a pillow. Emma gets excited about an energy bar she kept just in case, and shares it with Dean. Their parents are waiting at the airport in Detroit and assure each other that the kids will be found. When Emma asks why Dean calls her prom queen, he admits that she gives the perfect girl vibes. She hears some twigs break, but Dean seems sure there's nothing else in the woods. He tries to play some music, but Emma wants to save her battery. When he notices how cold she is, he offers his shirt. When he wakes up, Dean finds Emma trying to carve something on the sand to get attention. He decides to go for a swim instead. Her battery runs out pretty quickly, and they need more water. Their parents are assured that the police boat is searching the area. There's no trace of Dean and Emma, but they have learned about a missing dinghy. Jack asks them not to worry about money in this search. Collier and Christensen explain that the island currently lacks resources. There's no private rescue team, but the police seem hopeful of finding them within 2 days. The police chief still thinks they got lost having fun, but Barbara asks them to keep looking instead of making comments. Dean and Emma try to create a hut in case it rains. When Emma bruises her hand, Dean mends to it with leaves. He wonders why she's choosing to go to Princeton. Emma only knows that it's Ivy League, and realizes she never questioned when her parents decided that for her. Stacy asks Barbara and Phil for updates on the first night of the search. She asks them to stay for as long as they need. Dean and Emma try to make the best of their situation and work on fixing an accommodation. They also find fruits to eat and keep finding tactics to survive. Dean soon gets frustrated by the lack of anything proper to eat. Emma asks Dean to guard her as she takes a shower. She seems sure something is lurking nearby. When a lot of days pass, the investigation becomes more about a recovery effort than rescue. Phil is flying back home to take care of Stacy and asks Barbara to keep him updated. Barbara is determined to keep looking, and Jack also helps her get a helicopter. Emma misses her family and the luxuries back home. She hopes they're still looking for them. While working, Dean finds a skeleton at their spot. Emma panics and wonders if that guy, like them, was pretending to hold out hope for someone to rescue him. Dean assures Emma they will be fine because they have each other. He kisses her, and they have sex that night for the first time. Afterwards, she cries because this great experience made her feel normal for a while. When Emma wakes up the next morning, she panics because Dean is missing for a long time. She finds him burying the skeleton so he can have a proper farewell. He snaps at her when she seems concerned. He asks her not to think they're close just because they slept together once. She refuses to believe he's not a nice guy and tries to listen to him. She falls in a pit and hurts her leg, after which Dean feels very guilty. They feel closer to each other again, but Emma can't help thinking they're fooling themselves. She's worried about what will happen if either of them gets injured. Dean asks her to take things one day at a time because they don't know what's in store. He admits that he was burying the skeleton because he couldn't attend his own mother's funeral. He was driving with his mother one day when they decided to play a car game on a dark road. He thought it would be cool to play with the high beams to pretend they're from hyperspace. His mother loved this game, but he lost control of the car that day. He remembers how traumatic it was to wake up in the hospital after 3 days to realize that she's gone. Emma comforts him after hearing all this, and it gets them closer. A month after the day they went missing, the search is officially called off. Lizzie hopes that Barbara can still find something in Trinidad. Barbara shows the cops some new data, but they have tried everything. Barbara and Jack still keep using different tactics to search for them. In the middle of the storm, Jack shares how hard it was when he lost his wife. He even lost his partnership at the firm and tried so hard to bring the pieces back. He regrets not being there for Dean in that time. He still realizes that they have tried everything, and it's time for them to go back home. Dean remembers his mom talking about a green flash whenever they went to the beach. He has never seen it, but it's supposed to be on the horizon line as the sun comes down. Emma wonders how long they can survive there, but Dean assures her they will figure it out. As the parents try to move on with their lives, Emma and Dean keep getting closer to each other. Emma wonders if they should feel guilty about not being sad all the time. She asks how she is in bed and doesn't remember him being this fun in school. He admits that he used to watch her in school, and it seemed like she always had a plan. Emma seems to like this relaxed version of herself on the island. She asks about when he lost his virginity and admits that he was her first. He feels honored and hopes the sex was good for her. One morning, they hear a plane approaching. Dean runs towards it, but they lose sight of it because he can't find the flare gun. Emma tries to look for it too, and realizes that more of their stuff has been missing. She tries to walk off the island in anger, but Dean reminds her she can't go anywhere. They try to keep moving on, and Dean gets excited when he finally spots the green flare. As Emma is puking one day, Dean wonders if she's pregnant. She knows she's not, but he wants her to know that he's not against kids. He seems happy that she wants kids someday. Dean comforts her because she misses her family. A monkey starts throwing their things at them, and they finally find the flare gun. Emma fires the gun because she doesn't want to hope anymore. Dean is ready to build a life there, but Emma points out how they're barely surviving. A little while later, Emma finally thanks Dean for jumping in and saving her that day. They suddenly hear a helicopter close to them and run towards it. They fire the flare gun and finally manage to catch their attention. 3 months after the day they got lost, news of their rescue reaches their friends and family. They arrive hand in hand, but Emma gets lost in the crowd of people who have come to receive her. Dean is glad to meet Jack, but is forced to part ways with Emma. That night, he sneaks in from her window to check up on her. Emma is trying to get used to things and wants to join school from next week. Phil has told Dean about a homecoming party Barbara is throwing for Emma. She wants Dean to be there and thinks it will be fun with the school kids. Dean wants to kiss her, but Emma is worried about her parents constantly checking on her. At the party, Dean watches her from a corner. While Phil mentions Dean in his speech, all the attention is still on Emma. Stacy wonders why Dean is not with her, so he clarifies that he's not a people person. While Emma was always likable, this situation has made her more popular. Dean wants to meet her in private, but Emma doesn't think she can sneak away. When they return to school a week later, Emma is treated as a celebrity. Dean is still left in the shadows staring at her all the time. Emma tries to call Dean when he's home, but he doesn't pick it up. Stacy stops by Emma's room when she's sorting out dresses. She feels like she's living someone else's life. Stacy remembers how good it felt to finally get recognized by Barbara when Emma was gone. Even the teachers were kind to her out of pity. Now that Emma's back, Stacy feels like a nobody. Emma assures Stacy that she is amazing as she is. She's not going to the prom with Steven, so she asks Stacy to accompany her. Dean visits his mother's grave and finally apologizes for not attending her funeral. When Emma arrives with Stacy at the prom, she sets Stacy up with a cute boy. Jack watches Dean glued to the television screen and offers to let him borrow his tux. Lizzie finally thinks Emma deserves someone better than Steven. They find Dean waiting for Emma in the rain, and Stacy asks her to run to him. Emma steps out and kisses him, after which he gives her a corsage. When he asks her for a dance and calls her prom queen again, she clarifies that she wants to be a regular girl. She doesn't know how they can dance in the rain, but he reminds her that they have been through worse.